Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Association Leadership Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Association Leadership Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today on the show, we have Ted Turner, and he is a Master Certified Executive Coach, and he is here to talk about associations. Welcome, Ted.
Thank you, Lee. Pleasure to be back with you.
Well, before we get too far into things, let's talk a little bit about your coaching practice. I know you serve leaders in all different facets of business, but your background includes some roles in associations as well. So tell us a little bit about your practice and your background.
Well, certainly. So my background has been in construction and engineering for 40 years, large major projects all around the world. And so as part of that, I've been a member of several trade organizations concerning engineering, construction, trade work, those kind of things. I've served on a number of committees, both at the local chapter level and at the national level, advisory committees, as well as on the political action committees and workforce development, a number of different experiences working with associations.
So now, for those people listening and that maybe aren't members of associations left yet, why was it important for you to, being a practitioner and working in the industry, why was it important for you to not only join associations, but also to take leadership roles?
You know, there's a number of reasons why a person would want to get involved in an association. For me, I got involved at a early stage in my career and really didn't know what to expect. I was there really to soak up the information at that point, to learn from those that had been in the industry longer, to get, the latest tidbits of information and research, to be able to network and get creative ideas for different problems we were solving. I was very much into the educational part of the associations and all the unique things that they offered. And then as the years went by, I became more and more involved in setting the tone there and taking on assignments and working in an advisory role in different capacities. So my reason changed. Over time, I realized the power of having a lot of like-minded people, whether you're trying to affect ways to reach out to the community, ways to fill gaps in workforce, ways to prepare the next generation of workers, whether it's regulatory issues. There just was a lot of power and a lot of different directions that you could affect your industry dealing with a well-organized and good-sized association. And that's true for whatever industry you're in. So
now, since you have been on kind of experience in association at a variety of levels, can you share a little bit now using your Master Certified Executive Coach lens on what advice would you give the leader of an association in order to serve their members more, to maybe increase retention or to recruit more people, maybe a more diverse group of people? What advice would you give those leaders of associations, having kind of been there and done that in a variety of ways?
Yeah, I tell you, that's a very timely question. There's a fairly new survey out that shows that 45% of associations in the United States are reporting declines in membership renewals. Just last year, that was only 24%. So that's a huge issue that they're facing right now. So there's the good news, bad news with associations. The good news is that leadership is agnostic. The traits that make a good leader in an association are much the same in any kind of an organization. They have to be a constant presence. People have to know that they can depend on them and know that they're steering the ship with some constancy and some competence. They need to be vulnerable enough to listen, and especially in an association. These are all volunteers. None of them have to be there. They all have a level of passion about what they're doing, at least enough to sign up. For some, it is just the level of passion that they think, oh, this might be fun going to some of these mixers. For others, they are truly passionate about accomplishing something, and they will jump in and they will work. So a leader of an association has got to have a very clear vision, has to communicate it very well to people. so that they understand what it is they're trying to accomplish. That's even more important when you've got an all-volunteer army. All these people have day jobs, right? And so motivating them takes some strength, and it takes some inclusivity. It takes opening up your mind and explaining things and listening to the needs of your members. Because when you talk about retention, which you asked about, and getting new members, number one, top priority, you've got to show your members value. If you're not giving them value for their time and their money, they're not going to stick around. Most of them are not in it just for the social aspect. Like I said, there are some, but you've got to give them value for their money. Are you helping their businesses? Are you helping their personal growth? Are you offering them products and services that will help them grow as business people, or as researchers, or as educators, or as whatever the association is? Are you giving them unique things that they can't get anywhere else? Are you helping them to leverage the power of that association? Are you fostering networking so that they can work within a group of people that have the same values? There are just so many things there. If you've got some time, Lee, I can give you an example of some recent things we've done on this D&I committee to meet the needs of the members that I think is quite unique.
Yeah, and you're bringing up D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is, obviously, it's a hot topic today, and maybe it should have been a hot topic way before today. But
yes.
Let's bring that into play here a little bit, because a lot of associations' leadership don't look like the members. And a lot of times, if you go to the web page of the leaders, they all look alike. And it's hard for some of them to make the shift to include other people that don't look like them. So any advice or counsel in this area is much appreciated.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the committee I'm serving on now, so that's my focus now. But it all comes down to member value. And diversity, equity, inclusion, like so many things, we don't make the shift until it either becomes too painful not to, or until the light bulb goes off. So many organizations wait until it's painful to make the change. It's smart to be on the front end of it. We just recently made a presentation to an association board about why it is monetarily and morally and every other aspect you want to make of it imperative to open up your doors and bring in diverse attitudes, diverse experiences, diverse backgrounds, cultures. Open up those doors to those other ideas that you haven't accessed in the past. The demographics of this country are changing, that even if you're a cynical person and you just want to look at it at the bottom line, you're not going to be able to attract intelligent and capable workers if you don't start opening up your eyes and recruiting those that are a little bit more diverse. The demographics are just going to put us all in a bind if we don't. Now, you couple that with the fact that there is some great talent that just has been ignored for a long, long time. Women and minorities and other marginalized groups, there's been no good reason to marginalize them. It's just been our bias that's done it. And not that that's always nefarious. Sometimes you just do what you're used to doing. You just lean towards the people you're used to seeing. But there's a huge wealth of talent out there that needs to be tapped into, and somebody will tap into that talent. So it's either going to be your association or your company, or you're going to be 5 years down the road thinking, dang, we really should have gotten ahead of this thing, because now we're hurting for people. We're not able to compete because we don't have the good ideas. We don't have the new ideas. We don't have the fresh perspectives. Just a slew of things. I know Toyota, when they first started making SUVs, they thought they had the perfect plan. And one of the women engineers walked out and said, well, this tailgate doesn't work for me. I'm probably holding a baby and I'm trying to unload groceries, and this just flat out doesn't work. None of the other engineers, all male, had ever thought about the practical application of half of their drivers, the female audience.
Yeah, this is one of those things to me where associations really should take the lead. They have to be the role models for the industry. And if they're not demonstrating this, making this a priority in the association, they're really doing disservice to their industry. I think that this is, if their association isn't doing it, it's a lot easier for the industry members to say, it must not be that important. But if they see the associations leaning into this and doing this and behaving and role modeling this behavior, I think you have a lot better chance of getting the members to step up.
Yeah. And there has to be outreach. You have to reach out to those folks that traditionally have not been part of your association. And you're right. If they haven't been part of your association, then you're probably not seeing them reflected in the leadership of your association. You've got to face the fact that that's where you are and go out and show them the benefit to them to being a part of your group.
Right. And at first you might have to be proactive and go out and kind of knock on some doors that you historically haven't. And I don't think it's fair to say, well, they know where we are. No,
it's not fair at all. Right?
But a lot of folks take that perspective where, hey, we're out there. It's not like we're hiding.
No, you've got to be proactive. And as we've built the participation in the women and minority-owned businesses, we've been able to partner with municipalities, state, county, federal, local port district, to build some outreach programs and also to build some educational programs to get some of these newer women and minority-owned businesses in those circles where they can network with those that they can do business with, to do some leadership training with them, to do some general business training with them, to give them access to things that an association, buying in bulk, so to speak, can provide at a much more cost-effective price point than they can get on their own. Hooking people up with mentors in their industries. So there's a lot that you can do to show them that value, and then that value returns to your industry, to your association.
And especially in today's world where there is kind of a crisis of hiring and finding the right people, I mean, to ignore certain parts of the population seems silly.
Yeah, we've, especially in construction, where my background is, for years, we have faced a dearth of qualified people. It's been really hard to find folks to fill those slots. And it's only going to get worse. We've had something like 6.7 million people left the workforce, 6.7 more than would have left because of COVID, just decided to stop working. It's just going to get worse. We've got to tap into those generations that are up and coming. And the greatest area of growth right now is in minorities in this country. That's where the workforce is going to come from. That's where the leadership is going to come from. So
what is some baby step? What's a baby step an association or a member company can take to attract a more diverse kind of base?
It's hard to overcome inertia in anything, isn't it? You said it earlier, a mindset has to shift. I was talking with a member of the board of this association. He's an African-American man who his first experience with this association was kind of standoffish, admittedly on his side. He didn't see anybody that looked like him. He didn't really have confidence that they were serious about integrating. And in talking to him just the other day, he made a comment. He said they'd been trying for years to do something, and they finally decided to be serious about it. And that really is what it comes down to. They made the decision. You got to make the decision that this is something we're committed to. You need to, again, coming back to vulnerability, reach out to those that have done this, that know how this is done. Reach out to the other associations. Reach out to the people who do this as a living within corporations, that they have their outreach and DE&I committees and initiatives. Learn the things you don't know and start making those contacts. And be aware that it may take time. You've got to build trust with people that you've never had a relationship with. We all like to trust the other human being talking to us, but we all have those reservations, no matter what the setting is. You've got to make the decision that you will put in the time and you will put in the effort. And it really comes down to that. Nothing's going to start until you are dedicated to it.
And just like any change in an organization, it has a better chance of succeeding if it starts at the top.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk about initiatives, and there's lots of studies that show that over 70% of any kind of business initiative fails to reach its stated goals. And that all comes down to leadership. So absolutely, if the leadership of the association, the interesting thing with associations, you got a president or a CEO or something, but then there's usually a good-sized board behind them. If they, as a group and individually, don't buy in, give it the resources, give it the time, give it their personal clout, it's not going to happen. Or if it does, it's going to be much more difficult than it has to be.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for sharing your insight today. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe needs help with their association, your coaching practice is a great place to start to have these conversations. What is the best way to find you on the internet?
On the internet, you can find me at tedturner.intelligentleadershipec. That EC stands for executive coaching. So tedturner.intelligentleadershipec.com.
Good stuff. Well, thank you again for sharing your story. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lee.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Association Leadership Radio.